I am Hallie Casser-Jayne, and welcome to the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show, where along with my partner in politics, veteran White House correspondent, and Time and Newsweek alum Matthew Cooper, we slice and dice all things politics, and some days are lawmakers too. Before we get started, the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show podcast is always available at HallieCasserJayne.com and wherever you most like to listen to your podcasts. And be sure to follow me on Twitter at Hallie Show Quotes. Now, on this week's episode of the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show podcast, we offer a smorgasbord of politics, ocean cruises, land shrimp, and more. Don't understand? Stick around to the end. You'll get it. Let's get started. It's Hallie and Matt time. Here we go. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Hallie. How are you?
Sigh. I'm dieting. I'm dieting. It's never a good thing when Hallie's dieting.
Oh, not fun.
Not fun. Oh my God. Dieting. And we're having weird weather in Florida. It's not raining. And you know, if you're a Floridian, you're an amphibian and you need your water.
That's a good point.
You know, it's just like I don't know. We had like one day of rain last week, and that's like in like months. So climate change is an issue, folks, and we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about that. But let's start here. So Mr. Biden took a trip to Europe. Is in Europe.
Yeah, President Biden is in Europe. That's right. He's got the big G7 meeting. He's going to see Putin next week. A lot going on.
It's interesting to me. I think it's really bad timing on his part to go to Europe.
Well, he had to go.
Well, I know that he had to go, but I think it's bad. It's bad timing, and I almost wish that they could have done it, virtually for one more, time, because I feel like
when's a good time?
Well, when's a good time? He's there. There's a change going on in how things are dealing in with infrastructure and voter rights and things like that. That everything seems to immigration. It's coming to some kind of weird head right now. Now maybe maybe he's saying, this will quiet it down. I think it just gives, the press more time to make fodder out of stuff. So I'm sorry that he had to go right now. And I don't know what is it. What are they going to do? What's new with the G7?
Well, it's the annual meeting. It's just having it is a big deal. And, they got a lot to talk about in terms of China and Russia and trade, I mean, Britain's not in the EU anymore, so it's got to a lot of trade deals. It was in a lot of trade deals that no longer apply. So, keeping our scotch and our, our gin coming is very important to me personally.
You're a scotch drinker. Who knew?
Actually, I'm not much of a drinker at all, but
yeah. No, I get that. I don't know. It's pro forma. It brings to mind a thought that I had this week that we're living in a kind of a zero zone. We're not where we were 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, and we're not in the future yet either. This is very esoteric. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying?
Trippy, but
yeah, it is trippy, and I think that's a lot of what's going on that's making everybody a little crazy because, there's old school Biden, and there's new school, some crazies that are taking over Congress. But before we get to those crazies, let's talk about the Putin summit. It is coming. How important do you think it is?
I'm sorry,
I said, how important do you think that the Biden summit's going to be?
Important. I mean, I think, I don't think there's much of a chance Putin's going to correct his, lawless, aggressive behavior. But it's important that, Biden drive home the message there's a new sheriff in town and, it's not Donald, I love Moscow Trump. It's, it's going to be a much tougher line. And, there's no substitute for kind of personally delivering that message. So, it's important. Yeah. And also, I think when adversaries talk, it's important to meet. You want to you want to do everything you can to prevent the chance of any accidental confrontations, and that's important too. So I think it's good they're meeting. I hope Biden really hangs tough and tries to outline a plan for Putin to come back to the family of nations. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I just it's a dual message. I mean, I just don't think Biden's been nearly tough enough on him. And Putin's pushing his buttons, and I guess he's saying, "Well, you keep pushing, buddy. You're not going to push my buttons, so that I go whack-a-doodle." But maybe he'll nail him at the summit with something, because I think he does need to be reined in, Putin. Biden is so. Biden is Mr. Polite, and
Well, he did call him a killer.
Well, that's true. That's true. That didn't get enough play.
He's been, and when Putin et al. Go after his kid, that's pretty personal.
Well, exactly. I mean, I don't think they sanctioned him enough. I don't think they did enough to him, personally.
I think he's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see where it goes.
I'd be very curious to see where it goes. So that's what's projecting. Let's talk about what happened. Now, Vice President Harris. Oh, yeah. She's got herself in a pickle.
Well, you could see it a different way, but you keep going.
Well, because you know that Matt and I text back and forth concerning what we're going to talk about on the show, obviously, and I just made a little cryptic note. And don't forget the assault on Harris. And Matt was like, "What? What's she doing now? Where's she going with this?"
You meant the criticism. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, look, is it so bad to be attacked by AOC? I'm not sure that was the worst thing to happen.
No. Let's go back and do a little setup for this. She goes to Guatemala and to Mexico, and she says, "I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come."
Right.
Yeah. So then CNN's Jeremy Diamond starts asking her questions. He's been trying to make a name for himself. I got to put that in there. And he says to her, "Why haven't you been to the border?" And I want to talk about that. And her answer to him was, "I haven't been to Europe."
Holt too, yeah.
Yeah, and Lester Holt. And she has him. "I haven't been to Europe either."
Yeah, she wasn't ready for pretty obvious.
Well, see, I don't think that. I don't agree with that. I think she was very ready, actually, and they didn't like. And they didn't like the quip that she came back with. Let me tell you why I think she was ready. Now, it's new school versus old school. What we were just talking about, that that hippy dippy kind of thinking that I'm doing, but it's new school versus old school. The Republican talking point for the last 2 weeks to set this up was, why hasn't Harris been to the border? I mean, from Ronna McDaniel to
right.
That was their talking point. Why did the press have to pick it up? And let me say it with a comma. What does she have to go to the border for? As if she doesn't know what's going down on the border, number one. Number two, it's a photo op. Wait, let me finish. It's a photo op. And number three, it's bull crap. It's a photo op. It's got nothing to do with anything getting done. And my answer to Ronna McDaniel was, when she started up on it, "Look, Ronna, you thought your $1 trillion she said she needs to go down because people are being assaulted on the border. The people who live in those towns. Yeah. And she needs to make nice with that." And I'm like, really? Well, what happened to the $1 trillion wall you guys put up?
Yeah, well,
You hear me.
I understand what you're saying. But, there are Democrats who want her down. Cuellar, the congressman from, out of Laredo, was very desperate to have her come down. He was just on TV this morning repeating that call. It's good for Mark Kelly to have her down there. He's got a tough senator next year in Arizona. So, it's time well spent. And, a lot of it is a photo op. I mean, she can stick around longer and do some town meetings and stuff. But, yeah, of course, it's a photo op. But in some ways, so is Guatemala, right? I mean, she could just be on the phone to Guatemala.
Well, no, I don't think that's true. I think there is something there. But I'll say about the photo op. Let me put it to you this way, because it is kind of fascinating. In this case, it's a matter of what comes first. And I think that she needed to go to Guatemala and Mexico. And I think because the fix is going to be there. It's not going to be here,
Well, I agree. Look, I'm glad she went to Central America. I mean, she got this very tough assignment from the president, and she's doing it. But, you need a more sort of confident answer, I think, than what she offered to those reporter questions.
Well, I thought it was a snarky answer, and I rather liked it.
Okay, well, at some point she's going to go, and then the Republicans will criticize her when she's there.
Right. It's a no-win. Yeah, exactly.
But the Democrats are going to be happy, and they're an important part of what she's discussing here. And look, she's from California. She knows the border, at least that part of it, which is granted not as porous as other parts, but nonetheless, she knows it. So, look, she'll go at some point, and we'll see what happens.
The other thing I want to say on this is that the reporters at this, you can't get Biden. He's Teflon. And I think she's going to be his fall guy.
Well, I mean, yeah, no question. There's first you got the Republican narrative that he's senile, and so it's leftists like AOC and Harris who are pushing him to the radical socialist left.
God.
And then the Democrats, reporters are definitely going to be on her a bit. But look, unfortunately, she's got two very tough assignments that she's unlikely to succeed at. Getting this big voting rights bill through, that looks now impossible, and staunching the flow of migrants, which may or may not happen on her watch.
I was one of the first people to work in the sanctuary movement. I don't know if you know that. I got real hot on that when I came back from Salvador, because I saw what was going on and how pathetic this was and what a bad situation it was for people down there. And I was living in California. At that time, if you think it's bad nationwide as to how people treat the migrants, beaners in Mexico. I mean, it was cruel time. And
go
ahead. Yeah. Just some things change and some things just remain the same. I don't know that Harris, I've never been her number one fan. I don't know that she's the smartest person in the room, always. So I feel for her, but I'm not sure who's setting her up. I don't know if it's the Republicans or the Democrats for her to fail. We'll see. Let's move on, unless you have something further to say. Anything? Have we done? On that one?
No. I do think she's smart. I don't think she's handled this particularly adroitly, but it's early in the process.
And it's her first game.
Yeah,
it's her first time out. All right, so from the sublime to the ridiculous. Is infrastructure dead, Matthew?
Well, you never want to say never, but it's clearly looking less likely that policy differences between Biden and the Republicans were such that he's no longer formally negotiating with the Republican side. Now he's dealing with a little bipartisan rump group in the Senate, and I think it's going to be a little tough. And I think the question to look forward to is, what's the fallout from that? Do Republicans pay a price for being obstinate? Does Biden pay a price for seemingly being inflexible? Does where does it go after crash lands, or does it not really make a big difference? I can't say I know, but I definitely think it is less likely, not impossible, but less likely to get something.
But they can do stuff by going around Congress.
Well, this is a lot of money. There's not a lot they can do. There's going to be an infrastructure bill. There's going to be the usual Surface Transportation Act, which is the usual vehicle for just spending money on roads. And, that's going to happen. But as far as this big, ambitious project of $1 trillion, $2 trillion, not so much, I think.
Well, I to me, this is the biggest This is like the worst thing the Republicans have ever done, as far as I'm concerned. This to me is a nightmare. First of all, if you understand how we have fallen behind in so many ways, this country, the leader of the free world, I'm not so sure. Go to China, it's a whole different game. Even Europe, in parts of Europe, you go to Europe, and Europe is so far ahead of us on infrastructure and all of that. I mean, it's pretty bad stuff, and the stuff that was in there in that bill, I think, is important. But it takes us to Joe Manchin. Oy.
Oi.
I mean, really, this is an oy. Matt, if you go look at the history of Joe, he co-sponsored the voting rights legislation in 2019, and he supported filibuster reform back then. But let me give you something that's really interesting here. West Virginians, in a recent poll, support changing the filibuster rules. 75% support for the People's Act. West Virginians, who, remember last week I said to you, you can call them Republicans, but they're really at heart Democrats.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from on that. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I don't think people really have a knowledge of what the filibuster is. I think you get asked a question with a bill name like "For the People," and that's what they say they're for. But look, he's playing his own game here, and he wants to be important, and he wants to try to stretch out the bipartisan talks as long as he can to see if there's a deal there. And the big question is, at the end of the day, is he going to do what he did with the original COVID bill? Is he going to join a Democrats only bill? He's not acting that way, but I wouldn't disallow the possibility he does it on something. So let's see where we go.
Okay, but here's something that's interesting also. Two things. One is Chamber of Commerce. He could never get the Chamber of Commerce, which is a huge money pit to help. Yeah. Is suddenly, after thousands of years of not giving him money. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but not sure he needs the money that much. But
the thing, he has their support, or they're owning him at the moment, and I right.
Well, they like the infrastructure bill.
Well, apparently not, because they didn't feed him before; they're feeding him now, and your interpretation of that is they're trying to buy him to do what they want. What I've been reading is
this particular thing, but
take a look at this.
The business groups have been for a big bill. It's the sort of Republican activists who've not been into it.
Well, I'll tell you something that happened in Florida that's very strange. Where I used to live, Sebastian, Florida, little sea town, which is growing very, very quickly for a multitude of reasons. Sure. And, they're trying to put a high-speed railroad north to south in Florida. And they've been pretty successful south. And they hit Central Florida, who said, we don't want those trains coming through and ruin our quiet, sleepy little towns on in Central Florida.
Correct.
Millions of dollars in this sleepy little town, which is no longer sleepy, Sebastian, was spent fighting the railroad. Millions. City legislators losing their job and being strung out for even if they even so much as entertained it. And yesterday they capitulated and they're going with it. And it's all Republicans.
Yeah, well, I think they're this is what the Biden people are trying to do. They think there's Republican support out there.
And they're right.
In the country, in one-time super pro-Republican groups, and they're trying to go over the heads of Mitch McConnell.
I just find this fascinating because it's as if we the people get it, and a few bodies in Congress could care less. I mean, that's what's really disgraceful here. I mean, everything that you read, every poll that you just look at and try and understand and go into the weeds with, and they're all the same. American voters are in a different place than the people who are representing them. So you wonder how these few people have so much control. Joe Manchin, the state of West Virginia, which is one of the poorest states and the pitiful states in the country, is running America. This infuriates me.
Yeah, well, this is our system, and
It's not working.
Unfortunately, no, it's not working. As long as this, yeah, it's not working. But the filibuster doesn't matter if you can't get to 50, and so he's got a lot of juice.
Minority rule. What the hell is that?
Yeah, well, you got a unique guy who's not really impervious, who's kind of impervious to pressure from the left. I mean, they're not going to challenge him with a liberal primary, in 6 years. So that's no threat to him. And he can do what he wants. So we're all at his mercy.
It's really, I mean, we can. I've been screaming about this on Twitter. Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean,
no, here's what I'm saying. There is a way. There is. I'm sorry, we can't both talk. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said if John Ossoff had lost his Senate bid or something, none of this would be an issue. But we're in a very rare situation of a 50-50 tie. So
yeah, okay,
here we are.
But we the people have more to say about this than they're doing. It's funny how they came out for the Women's March and just then everybody just kind of like went back to sleep. I guess COVID partly is the problem. But I want to say this: you could really boycott, do whatever you want to call it, Manchin by holding. Yeah. I think you could. It's interesting to me, as I said, many of my Republican friends feel the same way about him right now as my Democratic friends. They're not happy. Now, behind him, by the way, is Sinema and a few others who may not come to vote on the filibuster. There is that.
We're not even at the filibuster.
Well, but I know. But
they just got to get to 50.
Yeah. Yeah, but you hear what I'm saying.
They're not at 50.
No. So how do you get them to 50? Another thing that's happening here is blacks beginning to speak. Now, I'm curious as to that. Now, there aren't any blacks in West Virginia. I mean, it's a very small black population.
Well, look, I mean, he did meet with civil rights leaders about the big voting rights bill, and they had a meeting, but he didn't seem to move off the position he's taken.
He didn't.
He wants a much smaller bill. So, let's.
But let me say what is percolated from that meeting, which is all right. Reverend Al went on, MSNBC and did his shtick. We talked to him, and they tried to remain polite, and they're still playing the polite game because that's not going to last forever. However, trickling into these stories right now are Manchin and Sinema a threat to Black America?
Well, there's no question minority pressure is not something they want, and they think they can either avoid or ride out. But
I'm forecasting.
In Manchin's case, as you know, there aren't that many minorities in West Virginia.
But this is not about him getting reelected because he's got years to go. So I don't. Right. Yeah.
Right.
This is
no. He doesn't want to be embarrassed. He doesn't want to feel like he's on the wrong side of civil rights. I mean, he doesn't want to be there. No, he doesn't want their criticism.
Well, he's about to get it. I think that's going to be the play, and I'm forecasting that's the play.
I think that's probably right. I just don't know what it's going to result in. But I agree. It's going to get to him.
It's going to get ugly, and the thing.
I don't know if it's going to get to him in a way to sort of get these. Now, there's still a chance they could get a smaller bill through.
Well, I understand. All I'm saying to you is they're not going to let him just play this and not respond now. And I think I'm forecasting what the next move is going to be. Look, the Black Caucus has been, once they got Joe in, their power is extraordinary, at least on the left. If not nationwide. So I just want to put that out there that you heard it here, folks. If Nancy can't do it, and if Schumer can't get him to move, and if this one can't do it, and that.
Well, Nancy did it. Nancy got it passed.
Well, but that's in the House. I mean, all I'm saying is I'm talking about Schumer can't rein him in.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're gonna be pissed at Manchin and Biden and Schumer, and they're going to...
You think Biden has been too nice to Manchin?
I think he's tried nice in a hope that Manchin will eventually get frustrated with the Republicans. and come back and do another Democrats only bill like he did the first time. I think that's the hope. And the hope is not to piss him off too much, but now they're starting to push him a little. And I don't know, the problem is slapping him around. Biden slapping him around is not going to hurt Manchin back home. So I don't think that's a great tool either. I think they're still trying to use honey instead of vinegar. And
I wonder how it feels, though. How does it feel to be so...
on the wrong side of your party's president?
Not only your president, but the people. I mean, he's getting beaten to crap on social media sites and what have you. I mean, it can't feel good.
I don't think he really cares about, the Twitterati. I mean, I think it's, it's when they stop loving him back home that, I think they're going to have more leverage.
Well, they never liked him anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let me ask you about John Testa. John Testa is a moderate, and he's been working. Is he part of the secondary deal with the other moderate group that's trying to work on this?
I can't probably. I think he's all for roads.
You would think, but he says no tax increases.
No, he's not big on tax increases. He doesn't. He's been very wary of getting rid of the filibuster, and but he hasn't gone all the way and said he wants to keep it either. He's a smart guy. He's up for re-election in a very red state, and he's one to watch.
People adore him.
People love him out there. He's got a crew cut. He's
he's cool.
Farmer.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's lost a finger or two from a combine accident, and he's a real Montanan, a real guy who fits in culturally out there. And but he has very close races out there, and he's going to have to really fight for this to stay in there in a tough year.
Well, in lieu of
figure out where he wants to be on these issues.
So he's a leader to me. I may be wrong, but to me, he is a leader. He takes his people and he brings them with him versus they tell him what they want him to do, like so many of the others. And so, that's why he's done what he's done in that, and lasted in that state.
No question.
Yeah,
and look,
he's a leader.
Votes for Obamacare. And other,
yeah. So he brings his people along. So they ought to utilize him a little more than they're utilizing him. Here's the thing, though. There was this report that came out this week on the super rich paying zero taxes.
Sure.
Ouch. I mean, it's one thing for say it. It's another thing. We knew Trump, but to really get those numbers and say these people are not doing their fair share, and they just got a tax deduction on top of it from Mr. Trump. I don't think you're on the right side of anything to say I don't believe in raising taxes on the super rich and the super rich. By the way, a lot of them are saying raise our taxes.
Yeah, well, no question there. I think you're gonna. That's still where Democrats are at for the most part.
Yeah. All right. What about on this voting rights thing? How are you feeling about this?
Well, we were just talking about it. I don't think the
Bottom
big bill, HR 1, I think still a chance of a smaller bill. No big bill. That's where I'm at.
Okay. All right. I bring it up again because I want to talk just a little bit about what's going on in Arizona. And, it's kind of gotten off the pages, but they're still in there doing something. I'm not sure what it is. A friend of mine said to me that they're not auditing it's ballot scams. And they're trying to do it in Pennsylvania, and they're going to try and do it in a few other states, beyond what they've already done. And they're literally changing ballots because there's nobody watching what they're really doing. Are you worried about this?
Yeah, I'm very worried about this whole, push to screw with the voting laws in different states, and especially these moves to kind of move these responsibilities for counting ballots out of the Secretary of State's offices into state legislatures, which are, Trumpier and, more craven. I mean, I think if that had happened in Georgia or Arizona, we might have seen a different outcome. So, yeah, I'm worried about where Republicans are going on this. I think they've gone all in on this, tightening voting requirements and and screwing with counting, and they're still auditing in Arizona.
No, that's what I said.
The last election.
Yeah.
With these nut jobs. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll make any difference, but yeah, no, it's
unnerving.
It's extremely unnerving, the impunity with which they're doing it, and it's so contrary to the nature of American politics, where it's all about get out the vote, get your people out.
I guess that's what I just don't.
Try to expand your numbers, and this is all like, we can't get our people out. We're going to reduce the numbers and try to game the system.
And the Democrats are not handling this well, which is why it's gotten as far as it's gotten.
Right. Well, we discussed this last week. That they're not.
Well, you can't say that enough. You can't say it enough. You got to say it weekly. Somebody attacked me and said, you're always going up against the Dems. I said, no, I'm calling it as I see it, folks. I'm calling it as I see it. So don't get mad at me and post on here, there, and whatever and say, you're always going after the Dems. I spend 99.9% of my time going after Republicans. But when the Dems are wrong, they need to be called out on it. That's my job. I am not a dyed-in-the-wool anything. I call them as I see it. Sorry, I had to go there because I got nailed last week.
Okay, you need to stay off this. Never read the comments.
No, I never comments. What I get inundated in emails, and please, people are crazy. Yeah. But I just need to say that it doesn't mean that I disagree with who they are and what they stand for, but they can play the game better. And Matt and I have talked about this ad nauseum for years. They can play the game better, and they're not playing it as well as they can.
And they're not playing it as well. Not so much.
Not so much. And so I think we need new Dem leadership, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
whole other conversation. Okay, I'm going to try and stay on straight news because we have some fun, interesting, kind of off-the-wall kind of stuff that went on this week. But let's talk inflation very seriously for a minute. You heard it here. I was the one who said this was going to be a problem. It is a problem. We're experiencing the fastest core rate since 1992. Now, a lot of the economists say it's temporary, but there were those who, Matt, say maybe not so much. But it is getting to be like, oh my God, when you go to the supermarket, you just kind of go, how did that happen in 1 week? It's scary. Gas. I don't know what gas is up there, but gas here is to the moon.
Yeah, it's $3.75 in the district.
Mm-hmm. It's
about that.
Yeah.
Less the little farther you go out. Well, I think we've got rising prices for now. I think the Fed. I might. What do I know? But I think the Fed is right that this is temporary, more likely to abate, and that you got. Look, there are periods when you have supply issues that really screw up pricing. After World War II, you had all these troops, demobilized at the same time. You had to change, factories over, prices went up, housing went up. A lot happened, but you did not have a really prolonged inflation period. And I think this time it's going to be fairly short. And if it's not, I believe they have the tools to shut it down.
Janet Yellen did say it wouldn't hurt to raise interest rates the other day.
Oh, they're going to go up.
Yeah.
They can't stay zero forever. They're going up at some point, maybe a little sooner than anyone had planned to.
On the other hand, let me just also say this. The housing market is starting to level off because it was out of the world. But it's like it was $39,000 was $29,000. Now it's $39,000 built into the cost of a new home right now just because of the cost of lumber. And I'm saying, okay, that's a good thing because they're letting everybody and their cousin buy a house. We're going to be back in 2008. It's
I agree. It's been frothy and still drives too much of people's behavior and stuff. I think those prices have got to settle down, and here in the Northeast, you had a huge run on, suburban homes. People thought cities, I can't stay in the city, pandemic, and suburban, exurban homes were going,
But everybody's moving to Florida now.
And now everyone's going to Florida to follow the Trumps.
Well, and you can't drink the water in Florida. This is spreading on the East Coast. I mean, the infrastructure in this state cannot support the amount of people you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a peninsula with 100 feet above sea level.
Exactly.
And, it's not
It wasn't
really
built
designed
for
to accommodate
this.
30 million people.
No,
Yeah,
it's going to
so,
sink. So anyway,
yeah.
so that's concerning. All right, we've gone as far as we can go there, but we're brought up Florida because a couple things going on in Florida. Val Demings announces her bid for Marco Rubio's seat. Now, I got to tell you something, because it was I think the press missed something. So she comes out and she does her thing. I think she has an interesting shot at getting it. And Rubio's response was to call her a do-nothing left-wing Dem.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just tell you about the do-nothing?
Right.
Do I need to say it?
No, you don't need to say it, but say it.
It's a little bit of a racial slur, just slightly.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit. I think it is.
And the press didn't run with it.
Did not.
Did not.
Good. I'm not sure they needed to.
I think they needed to, and here's the reason. Do you remember how Ron DeSantis got himself elected?
Well, he ran against African-American candidate who got pretty close.
Yeah, but you know how he got himself elected? The one word.
Did you call him a do-nothing? What did he... Oh, what, the corruption charge? What?
No, monkey.
What?
Monkey.
Oh, right.
I'm talking just strictly from, the position you and I look at, and I say to myself, oh my God, here we go again, and they do it so well. And you better nip this one in the bud before it even gets off.
Well, was that his intent?
Yes. Oh, please. Go back. You want to have some fun? Go back and read the papers. Because the papers couldn't even deny what he was up to. And they're Republican-held papers. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you've been high on her for a long time.
I love her. I think she's fabulous.
You think she's you think she can win?
Listen, there are some strange things going on. You're losing the Hispanics from the Democratic Party. I don't get that at all. I can understand high-class South Florida, maybe, the people who come with billions of dollars from, the Latin American countries who come here and what have you. But the fact of the matter is, there are that many more, migrant types, poor people.
Yeah, well, the socialism charge, it sticks.
Well, and it's absolutely stupid. Fascism is what they should be afraid of, not socialism. But that being said, it is an issue, at least in that part of the state, and of course the corridor. But you don't put Hispanics all in the same thing, because Puerto Ricans. Well, people like to do that. And Puerto Ricans might vote differently, let's say, than somebody from Venezuela.
Yeah, Colombians and Venezuelans.
Right. So they got a lot of power in Orlando corridor. So I think she's got and Rubio, everybody is ignoring. The funniest, one of my good friends who's going to be on the show soon. She's a reporter from down south in Florida. She made a cute, clever comment about. Rubio, we won't have to listen to his Bible quotes anymore. Get rid of him.
Right. Well, he's...
Pray. Pray.
The conservatives weren't super high on him, so he's got a little...
Yeah, he's vulnerable.
Those people more fired up.
Yeah, but he's vulnerable. I think he's vulnerable. You think he's vulnerable? I think he's vulnerable.
Look, this is a state where Bill Nelson only lost by 10,000, where huge percentages voted to give felons the right to vote and raise the minimum wage. I don't think Democrats are dead in Florida, so I know
you and I are
I think she's got a chance. I think you got not a very good party down there.
Well, that's the problem. There is no Democratic Party.
That isn't good. And, I think a lot of it's going to depend on, what kind of year it is for the administration. Is it going to be a wave year where they lose a bunch of seats, in which case I don't think she can get there. But, if it's one of those years where they kind of hold their own, like 2002 or 1998, then I think she can make it. I mean, she's a good candidate, right? I mean, I've never seen her on the stump. I've only seen her in the committee room. I don't know what she's like. Does she give a stem winder? Does that matter? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Damn expensive state, though. Very expensive media state. It's not only big, but you have so many markets.
You have markets. That's the problem.
You got to buy in a lot of markets, and it is not cheap. And
well, listen, if I were the Democrats, and I would take every dime that I have and push it into Florida, because this is the future of the Democratic.
Yeah.
So
and you got to drive up the Warnock vote in
Georgia.
So that's gonna spill over into Jacksonville, Leon County.
Exactly.
That's gonna help get those numbers up. So let's see
Yeah,
where we're
I
at
like
the
I
end of
said,
the
I
day.
think she has a shot, but a lot of it depends upon the stupidity of the Democrats when it
She's
comes
got a
to
great
election.
resume, right?
And her
it's
husband
great
is in
resume.
power right now.
Now, I would definitely count on Rubio to pull out, attack from the left, like some report about police abuse in Orlando.
Oh yeah,
And
of course.
I'm sure cops did something on her watch that it's unsafe.
But her husband's still sitting.
Defend it.
Yeah, her husband is the police chief.
Yeah, well, something happened on his watch. They're going to have to defend together, and
and he's an elected official, and they like him there. So let's look.
And Rubio will buy on black radio.
Yeah,
to do that. I will guarantee you will have black radio unmarked Rubio ads saying like,
absolutely,
some guy got a beat down from the Orlando PD. Where was Val Demings? And I don't know if that kind of stuff's going to work.
Well, in that vein, there's DeSantis who controls a lot of what goes on in Florida.
Right. And he's running, and he's likely to win, don't you think? You need there to be DeSantis Demings voters, and I don't know if there are enough of those.
I think he's gonna fall. First of all,
you think the big guy's going down?
Well, first of all, I think that he's peaking too soon.
Yeah, that could be.
And I think he's dirty. He's a dirty politician. And he doesn't clean up. He doesn't clean up his shtick, other than playing thug.
What's he doing with the cruise ship?
Well, this is just crazy shit because, they can't. He doesn't want them to have passports, with vaccination things.
Yeah,
but a weird
if I work
deal.
in the port of Miami, I'm a businessman down there, and Carnival Cruises or whatever.
But here's what's
can't
really
get this worked out.
No. So I don't get this one at all. Royal Viking, which is an offshore, I think Norway. The CEO is Norwegian. Yeah. I think you're right. They fought him like tooth and nail on this, and then they apparently capitulated, only to learn that the CEO said, "Okay, you can have it, no passports, but we're going to charge people to take cruises without vaccines, triple the price." 2 days later, he comes, and you're going to have to take a COVID test. And so they won on the one hand so they could get themselves offshore to do what they want, because once they're offshore, DeSantis has got nothing to do with them. Yesterday or this morning, it's reported 2 people tested positive on an Italian cruise line. Who's getting on a cruise? Are you stupid? I mean, it's just like, what?
I mean, if I'm inoculated, I'd probably
no.
Well, first, I'm not into.
But but let me tell you why. Why I argue that fact, which is because there are all of these crazy,
They got the variants.
And they're having a lot of problems with one of them that they're kind of signaling may be a real problem for Americans too, with the vaccination.
Well, I don't know how he's. I mean,
this
is what's so crazy about the Republicans now is that, like, to make a point to own the libs, they're going to shut down the cruise industry in Florida. I mean,
he's not.
When it start,
he's never would do that.
Got a chance of coming back.
Yeah, no, he would never do that. He would never do that. So anyway, that's where we are.
Right? It's effectively stopped, right?
No. They made the deal that they can go ahead with Royal Viking, and Royal Viking said,
yeah, but what about the big lines?
Well, that is a big line, but the other one is Carnival, I guess, or whatever. I haven't heard much about that yet, but they were arguing it and what have you. But they all have the option, once they're offshore, that nobody in Florida has any right to tell them anything. It's just a stupid thing to play with. But listen, DeSantis could care less about the health of of Floridians. 30,000 of them are dead, and he says, "But we got a great economy." Okay, just craven, just disgraceful. I don't want to talk about him anymore. I'm tired of talking about him.
All right,
let's go to BB.
Well, as we go into the stretch here, what do you think?
BB.
Yeah. So is it over? I can't tell.
I can't tell
It's
either.
over.
I've never seen such bad reporting. I have to tell you, the Jerusalem Post and the Times of Israel and Haaretz are just maybe the worst papers in the history of the world. So you can't get any facts from day to day. It changes. Now they're saying they're stuck on the settlers and some deal about whether they're going to go after them or they're not before anybody signs on the dotted line. I don't know. So that's up in the air. I'm bringing up Bibi only because it leads to Ilhan Omar, who Monday tweeted equating the U.S. and Israel to Hamas and the Taliban. Now, to the credit of the Democrats, they didn't waste 2 seconds. They came out and they let her have it. Unlike what happened with, what's-her-face, who came out about the Jewish stars. Are you're aware of Ilhan Omar?
What?
And what she said?
These latest comments, to tell you the truth, not. But
well, it's pretty big stuff because
it's part of a continuum. Yeah.
Yeah. She's got to be sanctioned, and I guess Brad Sherman of California, Brad Snyder of Illinois, Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida, are saying, yeah, we need to fix this. We need to fix this in a hurry. This woman can't keep doing this, kind of thing. We'll see. She's a problem. She's a problem. I want to go to Merrick Garland. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Fiercely independent.
Oh, boy. I have a problem with this on 2 levels. I got a problem with him, with this thing with Trump, siding Trump with Trump in the defamation lawsuit brought by Jean Carroll. No. Fairness to treatment of POTUS, no. This has got to stop. This whole country is founded on, no one is above the law. And these institutions within the government get themselves into crazy places. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some issues about presidents getting sued and in office. It seems to me that the facts are on Jean Carroll's side that, Trump was not acting in a presidential capacity. He was acting in a personal capacity. And, the court has given green lights to lots of suits, including Paula Jones back in the Clinton days. And so I'm surprised the Justice Department went out on a limb for this. I don't think they're defending a great principle here.
I don't get it, but that's what happens to institutions, and the FBI and the CIA and the DOJ become institutions, and they get stuck. They need to be cleaned up, all of them. They're all too full of themselves in weird ways and stuff. Don McGahn did testify, who was Trump's lawyer. I just want to say that the quote of the year, of the century, it should be somebody's title for a book. Trump asked him to do some crazy shit. I mean, he effectually said everything that everybody knew, that if Trump was obstructing justice. My question is, why did McGahn go along with it?
Well, I agree. I mean, it was basically in the some of it he didn't write. He didn't write the letter.
Well, when push came to shove, he
definitely wasn't going to get in the way of firing Comey. Yeah, and look, it was Trump had no distinction between personal avarice and the office of president, and this is what you get. I think it's too bad there weren't more John Deans. I mean, not that John.
Well, we don't have people of character.
Law, but at least have some sense that what went on was criminal. And unfortunately, we're not really getting that from this former White House counsel.
The crisis in America is a crisis of morality. In everything that is wrong, it gets down to moral choices or immoral choices. And until people start to get that, this is where we're going to be. You'll go back and around and in and up and down and out. Politics will be ugly business. There's a morality problem in this country. And you're taught differently than when you and I were coming up. You did the right thing, right? The handshake was a handshake. That's not how it is anymore. I mean, you go to law school, they teach you to be a shark. You go to business school, they say, whatever you have to do, make money. It's wrong. And it affects it's affecting everything that we are, and so it's got to stop. COVID's at kind of like a weird place right now. They can't get everybody to get the vaccinations who need to be vaccinated. That's kind of scary. Carolina Panthers football quarterback Sam Donald, nope, I'm vaccinated. Somebody better get the message out, because all of us being vaccinated will be meaningless if they can't get the... Biden, one of the good things that's happening in G7 is he's going there with lots of money for different countries, right? For vaccinations and stuff. Because you can't stop the problem until you...
Yeah, you can't have these variants bouncing around all over the world,
right,
and be truly safe.
Right, and my friends in Uganda, in small town Uganda, are telling me it's on the rise again, and none of them have been vaccinated. So they ran out of vaccines before they even started.
Yeah, not good.
Not good at all. I want to bring up Jim Acosta, who is taking issue with the watchdog that came out and said the processes weren't cleared so Trump could take pictures. And Acosta got up early this morning, went on CNN and said, no, not true.
Yeah, this is about the park.
Yeah.
Last summer.
Yeah.
Clearing the park so he could walk over at the church.
Yes, and the watchdog said that wasn't why it happened. But the watchdog was only looking at the police, not at the Capitol Police.
Yeah, and the watchdog said as much. And the watchdog determined that the police did not clear the park to clear the park for Trump, that they were going to clear the park anyway, but he only looked at that one part of it. There was also the military and federal police forces, like the park police, involved. So we don't have the fullest picture. I mean, it is possible they were always planning to clear it, and maybe they cleared it faster because he was coming. I mean, different narratives are possible that still make Trump, craven, but, offer a little more perspective. I mean, that's possible, right? I'm sure they were planning to clear it at some point. They weren't going to let him camp forever.
Well, that doesn't explain the chemicals that were used.
Well, the chemicals, and also doing it, just as he was leaving, just like an hour before he's going to walk over for this stupid thing. So, look, I'm sure.
You hear what I'm saying?
I'm sure Barr in the White House, wanted the place cleaned out, and they made it happen.
So speaking of Trump, he wore his pants backwards?
Well, that's the meme on the internet. I think he has enough staff and enough people around him that he's not going to be walking out his pants backwards. Even if you... And also, it's hard to put your pants on backwards and take a leak.
But they were wet, too.
I mean, you can't use the bathroom if that... You'd have to have such a level of dementia. You'd have to have dementia, but enough dexterity to put them on that way that I don't... It seems... totally implausible to me.
He was off the wall that night, though. I mean, if you they didn't show but I saw some of that. I mean, he's like half dead.
Yeah, I think with the pants.
But you don't think he put his pants on backwards? But did he wet his pants?
But at some level, I wish it were so. But, I don't think.
Did he wet his pants? I would like to know. I will tell you this: a third of Republicans believe he's going to be reinstated by August. So if they believe that, then they can believe that he had his pants on backwards.
Well, it's the liberals that think he had his pants on backwards, right? His people don't think he... Well,
I think that anybody looked at it. I mean, I saw everybody doing funny stuff with it. I mean, I don't know if it was liberal, but, they're going to defend him until he's blue in the face, or I should say red in the face.
Right.
Yeah, right, red in the face. Yeah, no, it's also stupid. By the way, just looking at the lightning round stuff, I just want to mention that Biden is quietly closing Guantanamo, and it's not getting a lot of press, and I think that's a good thing.
Yes, definitely.
Right, just close it. I want to bring up the fact that there's a new royal baby.
Yes.
Yeah. You did something interesting, though. When you sent me a note about that, do you know what you said?
I can't remember.
The Markles have a baby.
What?
You said the Markles have a baby.
Oh, the Markles have a baby. Yeah, well, I was being a little cheeky. But
yes, you were deliberately being cheeky?
Oh, also, I couldn't remember his last name. Windsor?
I was looking for a big
Or is it Mountbatten?
It's Mountbatten. I think it's Mountbatten.
Right? It's not Windsor. Yeah.
But the thing about it is, I find it fascinating that they haven't showed pictures of this baby.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. They usually do something.
I mean, she wasn't going to walk out of the hospital, do any of that stuff, and yada yada yada.
I imagine at some point they release some.
Instead of releasing a picture of her, Lily, and there's a whole brouhaha about that because apparently she said that she got permission from the Queen and talked to the Queen about it. And the Queen says, nope, not so much. And that why they would name her after the Queen, who they dished and tried to destroy the monarchy. That's another thing. But Lily,
yeah,
it's a name I wouldn't have chosen just because it's just such a thing around her neck for the rest of her life, to be compared to the Queen.
She's got a lot of things on her neck.
Kind of
so
thing.
Are we in the lightning round? Is this the lightning round?
We're kind of there. I was looking at my notes to see what I missed here. Did I miss anything?
As you were Vero this week, and I can't think of anything you missed of any import here.
Yeah. So let's take the temperature of the nation right now. How do you think we are? We feeling good? We feeling bad? We feeling confused? Where are we? I think we're almost 6 months into this presidency. Pushing.
Well, I think better. I mean, I think the vaccines are working, and people are getting out, and they're going to have summer. And I think it's better. I think there's still kind of a sense of unease and discomfort, but I think the polls kind of reflect that, and we'll see what people are like in August after they've all been partying. For those who can afford it, have been partying.
I think this country needs a purging. And okay, and that's not to drink bleach, and that's not to get a vaccination. But I think that until that DOJ that we were just talking about gets Trump, we're still sick. We're still infected.
I think that's a good note to end on. I think there's something to that. And
they did bring in his comptroller to the hearings.
Yeah, grand
jury. Thank you. I couldn't get the word out.
Yeah, sure.
And that was a big deal. But they got to get him. They got to get Matt Gaetz. They need to clean up the thing with the Mueller report. Though we need to purge ourselves of Trump, and I think that all of us live in kind of a weird.
I don't know if that's going to happen. We've had 2 impeachments. He's out of office. I mean, maybe there'll be an indictment, but I'm not sure his.
I know you and I go around it. Well, the reason I wanted to
over anytime soon, but that's an interesting thought as we close.
Yeah. I hate to end on such a down note, but
okay. Well, it's vax summer. Go have fun.
And eat some cicadas. They're high in protein, good for the Atkins diet.
Land shrimp, we call them. Yes.
Oh God. Well, that's a better one. All right, kiddo. Yeah. It's been swell.
All right,
Goodbye, darling. Bye. Matt.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show, a production of Resec LLC. The Hallie Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, and is available at HallieCasserJayne.com and on all your favorite apps. Be sure to visit us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at The Hallie CJ Show. Until next time, this is Hallie Casser-Jayne.